Hello and welcome to Nkumat Online Academy. I believe you are doing fine today. Today we want to learn word problems that involve distance. In our previous lesson, we talked about how to convert distance in different units to another unit. We've talked about how to convert distance in cm to meter, distance in millimeter to cm, and back to from cm to millimeter. Then we also talked about how to convert distance in meter to kilometer and so many other ways of converting distance. Today, what we want to learn today is how to do calculations that involve word problems. I believe you already know what word problems is. That word problem means a way of stating mathematical problems using direct statements. Stating mathematical expression, mathematical problems using direct statements. For instance, in word problems, you know that the normal term we use in mathematics for addition is add. So instead of somebody saying add 5 and 4, the person can tell you that 5 is increased by 4. So the person will remove add and use increased by. That is what we call word problem. The person will remove the normal terms we use in mathematical expressions and now use direct English statements to replace them. So add 1 and 2 can be stated as increase 1 by 2, and other statements like that. That is what we call word problem. Now we see how we can interpret word problems that involve distance and then solve the problem or the calculations. Now take for instance example 1. Now if we have somebody telling us that his house, that he visited his two friends, maybe his name is Obi, and he said that he visited his two friends and that one of them, that he moved or he traveled 2 kilometers to get to his house. The first friend, he moved or he traveled, I visited or Obi visited his two friends. Let's say Obi visited his two friends. He he traveled 2 kilometers to get to the first person's house. To get to the first person's house, and 3 kilometers to the second person's house. Then calculate the total distance he covered. Calculate the total distance he covered. Now this is a word problem. Now how can we solve this? Obi visited his two friends. He traveled 2 kilometers to get to the first person's house and 3 kilometers to the second person's house. Calculate the distance he covered, the total distance he covered. Now our solution, we are going to say, just to add these two distances covered, the 2 kilometers and 3 kilometers, that is all. So we say that the total distance covered is equal to 2 plus 3, and that gives us 5 kilometers. He first of all traveled 2 kilometers to get to the first person's house, and then from the first person's house he traveled another 3 kilometers to get to the second person's house. Then that means that we should just add the two distances covered to get our total distance, which is now 5 kilometers. Now example 2. It takes a student 2 minutes to get to his house. If his house is half kilometer away from his school, calculate the distance between his school and his house in meters. This is another word problem. Here they say that the school is half kilometer away from his house. Half kilometer, 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters, like we discussed in the last lesson. Therefore, half kilometer is equal to 1/2, that is half of 1,000, and that is going to give us 500 meters. So this is the answer. The 2 that is there in the equation is not needed for us to do any calculation here. It is just given to us there to confuse those that don't know this. Example 3. If I traveled 10 meters to market, and from the market I traveled 4 meters to my farm, and from my farm I traveled 6 meters to my house, determine the total distance I have covered. 10 meters to market, then 4 meters to farm, and then 6 meters to his house. Now determine the total distance covered. The total distance covered is equal to the distance from his house to the market, and from market to farm, and from farm to his house. So which is equal to 10 plus 4 plus 6, which will give us 20 meters. So that is the answer. Now we can also have another example, like it takes Edu 15 minutes to reach his house from his school. If his school is half is quarter if his school is half kilometer away from his house, calculate his the distance between his school and his house. Calculate the distance between his school and his house. Now we have that the distance is half kilometer away. Let us assume that we are asked to calculate it in meters. So 1 kilometer is equal to 1000 meter. Therefore, half kilometer is equal to 1 over 2 multiplied by 1000, like the one we solved before, which will give us 500 meter. Now you also see that the 15 minutes given to us there is there just to confuse those who don't know that the question is all about converting the kilometer to meter. So you see that this is a word problem because instead of the person asking us directly, please help me convert half kilometer to meter. This should be a normal mathematical question. Please help me to convert five half kilometer to meter. Then the person is now bringing different statements that he traveled to school, that he came back, so many other things around it, just to confuse those who don't know this. So that is what we call word problem. And I believe that any question that involves word problem, that you should be able to solve it if it is related to distance.